Why do 2 colonics in a row? The reason why we want you to do 2 colonics 2 days in a row is because you have 5 feet of colon. So the first couple of sessions is really just about cleansing out the contents. The magic happens is when you can get the colonic when nothing's really coming out. So your first session, the water's going to go in, get some of that loose material out. When you come back for that second session, your colon will be a little bit emptier, so the water can get up higher and take off some of that stuff from the walls, the lining, the pockets, and clean out a little bit farther in your colon. The other reason why you want to get 2 sessions is because you may or may not release in that first session. If you don't release anything, it just means that first part of your colon is super clean and in good shape, especially if you're having regular bowel movements. You might think that your colon is clean, but in that 5 feet, maybe just that first part is clean. So the reason why you come in the second day is get a little bit higher and get into that colon further down throughout that 5 feet. Why do 10 to 12 sessions? So it's not just a clean colonic recommendations, it's actually a recommendation for colon hydrotherapists to suggest to their clients. Because you have 5 feet of colon, the first couple that you get is really just cleansing out the contents. The magic happens when your colon is empty, so that way your sessions as you go session 3, 4, 5 and on can focus on getting the lining and the walls and the pocket. So you want to do those 10 to 12 sessions within 3 weeks. The protocol could be 2 days in a row, you skip a day, come in and do another one, skip 1 day. You don't want to go more than 4 days in your initial 10 to 12 sessions, so that way you can get higher up in your colon and make sure that you're getting a full gut reset. Do I do my own insertion? When you get an open system colonic, the nozzle is less than pinky size and it's only going to go in that far. So you are in the room by yourself to do your own insertion. You're going to be covered the entire time. You just insert and then you're going to hit your call button and your therapist will come in after you've already inserted and you're completely covered. Will it smell during the session? You will not smell anything in the room because there's a vent that pulls the air from the device and takes it out away from you. So that when you're sitting there, it's actually a cleaner experience going to the restroom and releasing on the colonic device than it is actually in the restroom. Because you usually have like a fart fan or something to eliminate the air. This is pulling it out directly from the table so you won't smell anything. Is a coffee enema good? A coffee enema is great when you're constipated or you want to detox your liver. The reason for that is once you put the coffee into your rectum, your colon's going to naturally be stimulated and it's going to pull down some of that fecal matter that's higher in your colon. It will also send a signal to your liver to start detoxing, so you're going to eliminate. And a recommendation, you don't want to just use any coffee like Folgers, keep that in your cup. You want to use a really good coffee enema that's specifically designed for an enema purpose because it has less mold in it, and you usually want to do an organic coffee. And if you want a really good coffee, you can go to our link and purchase it from our website. What can I expect after my colonic? Because everyone's colon is different, it's hard for me to say what you will and will not experience, but I can kind of give you a general experience. Now, because we are cleaning out your colon, your body may hold on to a little bit of water. So you might feel that feeling where you have to go to the restroom. So we just tell people don't trust passing gas. If you do feel like you have to use the restroom, then make sure you go to the toilet. So just to be funny, but there's no other way to say it, don't trust a fart. Now, your sphincter will kind of hold that in there, just like when you have that feeling like you're gassy. Because your colon is going to be softening up the material, you may experience a little bit of gas. As the water is going in, it's going to start moving that stuff off your colon wall. And then it's going to send a signal to your body like, oh, I got to get this out. So you might feel a little bit of that toxicity feeling because your body knows that that's not supposed to be in there. That's why getting the colonic and doing the series is great, because you want to keep flushing out that toxicity and all that stuff that's in your body. You don't want that sitting in there. What is a closed colonic? A closed colonic has a different speculum. The reason why it's called closed is it closes off your rectum. So imagine the nozzle that goes in your rectum is about like this, and it goes in about that far, so it's closing it off. So what that means is the device puts the water in through one tube, and then it pulls it out the same tube. So if you happen to have any bigger pieces of stool, it may or may not fit. But the difference is the therapist might rub your stomach to help break down the material. They're with you the entire time. But that closed system is a little bit different just because you're not eliminating on your own. Once again, the water goes through the one tube and then it's pulled out the same. That's the main difference. An open session, the nozzle is less than pinky size and it's only going to go in that far. So the reason why we say it's an open colonic is because the water's going to go in and then the water's going to come out. So imagine the water's going in like this, your rectum's going to naturally kind of pulsate and all the material is going to come out around through your rectum and down the hole. So when you feel that urge to eliminate and you feel that pressure at your rectum, you can go ahead and just eliminate. So if you happen to have little bit pieces of stool, your body's just going to be able to expel it naturally, as if you were on the toilet. So imagine it comes out a little bit easier because the water's going in and then the water's coming out. Is a colonic safe? When you get a colonic, you should fill out an intake form, and on that intake form, it'll go over a list of contraindications. So the colonic is safe as long as you don't have any of those, such as if you happen to have cancer, we just want to go over that with your doctor to make sure that it's okay. If you have things like colitis, that's a contraindication. There's certain things that you may not want to get a colonic, and you can look at the website for the list of those. The colonic is safe. It's an FDA-approved device, Class 2 medical device. There's different classifications. So I would suggest going to a facility that has a Class 2 medical device and that's cleared through the FDA. The water is warm, it's filtered, there's a safety mechanism to shut off the device if the water gets too hot. It doesn't smell, so that way it's going to be comfortable during your session. It's private. You're going to do your own insertion, and it's only going to go in that far. The flow of the colonic is 2 psi, and it actually takes 10 to break the skin. So just imagine a nice gentle flow of water going in and going out. And you're also going to be able to turn off the water when you need to if you're feeling a little uncomfortable or if you're getting bloated. Why is it important to get 10 to 12 sessions? I get asked this question a lot, especially when people have done their first 2 colonics and then they get to the 3rd and the 4th and they're not really eliminating much. They think, oh, my colon must be clean. Don't let your colon fool you, because what's happening is your colon for the most part is pretty empty. So you do have that perception like, oh, my colon must be clean because nothing's coming out. The best colonic is happening when nothing's coming out, so that way the water can soak and saturate the walls and get that lining and everything else out. So the 10 to 12 sessions are really important because even if you're going to the bathroom regularly, you may not be getting it all out. So what happens is you get your first 2 colonics, you may or may not release, maybe you feel pretty good because you're going to feel amazing after getting those 2 sessions. But the impact and the magic happens is when you can get through those 10. Because in session 3 and 4 and maybe even 5, you may not be releasing a little bit. So you might think, oh, my colon must be clean. But what's actually happening is the water is soaking and saturating the walls. It's getting a little bit higher. Think about this as cleansing all of that debris that is in there. So I'm saying don't judge the process, just trust that it takes the 10 to 12 sessions to clean out your entire colon to get that gut reset. Around session 5 and 6, you might be thinking, oh, there's not a whole lot that's coming out. You know, it must not be working. And it is. It's just taking a little bit longer to get higher in the colon and getting that stuff that's been stuck in there, in the pockets, the lining. It takes some time to get farther up in the colon, which is what we really want to get out. And then by your 7th session or even your 8th, that's when I talk about that magic moment or your breakthrough, because all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, where is all this stuff coming out? So what I found after seeing thousands of clients, that average breakthrough moment when people have that is around session 7 or 8. Then once you get that out, then your colon starts to operate a little bit better. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to have more energy. So it's just getting through that point. Don't give up on your 4th, 5th, or 6th session. So you got to see it through and make sure you get that 10 to 12. 1 or 2, like I said, you're just going to feel amazing, but that 10 to 12 is really where the magic happens. Who needs to get a colonic? In my opinion, I think everyone needs to get a colonic. And the reason for that is because even if you're going to the bathroom and you're releasing and you're having great bowel movements, that's only the first part of your colon. So you don't know what's going on higher up. So it's great to just go in there, grab that debris, get your walls, your lining, and your pockets. But it's also great for people who obviously are experiencing constipation. And if you don't know my story, I actually had tons of problems with my uterus, and then I also had tons of food allergies. So my story really quickly, I actually was going to get a hysterectomy, and then I decided somebody suggested I go get a colonic. And I didn't want to because they're not even related, right? But I had endometriosis, adenomyosis, I had cysts and fibroids. I was so desperate that I figured I might as well just try this one more time and see what happens. And after my 7th session, I released so much stool, and the very next month, I had no problems with my cycle. And then I decided, well, let me just start to see if I can eat some of the foods. I was so highly allergic to cheese. I actually had a cheese pizza once, and it put me in the hospital. I was frustrated because it didn't seem, no matter what I ate, I was always getting bloated, swollen, and uncomfortable. And once I cleaned out my colon, I literally can eat anything. So my favorite thing to actually order on the menu now is truffle mac and cheese with lobster, because I used to be allergic to lobster and cheese. So all of my allergies are 100% gone, and I can contribute that to you have tons of blood vessels that are associated with your colon wall. And once you remove that lining, it's like the intelligence. More and more research is coming out that your colon is a second brain. So you want to give it that environment that is clean and can communicate. So once you remove all that stuff from the lining, the walls and the pockets, then your body can function the way that it's supposed to. That communication will be there, that feeling of overall just being cleansed. You'll have so much more energy.